Alrighty, I told you Iowa fans I was working on this video, and here we are. The way too early Iowa breakdown for their potential 2025 team, based on TrueTan Wrestling educated guesses or something. For starters, Iowa got some big news last week, filling in a potential hole at 149 with Kyle Parko, a multiple-time All-American, and then at potentially 174 or 184 or we'll get to it. Nelson Brands is coming back is what I'm trying to say, due to the NCAA granting him his medical red shirt. So I guess the gambler beat the man. Sort of, not really. But either way, he's coming back in the classic black singlet one last time. Which again leads to some lineup questions up top, but we'll get to that in a second. Before that though, if I miss any of your favorite Hawkeyes throughout this, or if you have your own opinion to be honest, let me know in the comment section below. Heck, while you're down there, you might as well hit that like button and maybe even subscribe. That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? But anyway, let's talk about some Iowa wrestling and I'll stop begging for subscribers. 125 is pretty straightforward in my mind, with Iowa's starting lineup man and only national finalist last year, Drake Ayala. I do think Iowa has a lot of options, but nowhere close to the level of Ayala. He had a few inconsistencies last year, but who didn't at 125 to be honest? However, he found the right amount of consistency at the right time, making the national finals and helping Iowa move into the 5th place spot. The only other option Iowa might have to consider is Joey Cruz, who was a top recruit who left Oklahoma to transfer into Iowa, but he hasn't had too much high-level success yet in college. They'll also have Leah DeLuca coming in, not this season, but the season after that. So that might be a little way too early to predict, but I would imagine he would come in at 125 and then Ayala would bump up to 133, which is a pretty solid 1-2 punch for a few years. But again, that might be a little too early to talk about. So for now, it's a Drake Ayala show at Iowa at 125. 133 for the Hawks isn't super deep, but they will more than likely have a really solid redshirt freshman taking over for Teskey and Cale Peterson. Peterson was a top tier recruit and he appears to have made a lot of adjustments and growth since he got to Iowa. He has had a mixed bag of results so far in college, which is honestly typical for a redshirt. But I'm excited to see how he does and competes in the Big Ten schedule. Colin Shriver could also be an option for them at 133. He's been a backup guy for them since he's got to Iowa at that weight. But I'm going to wait to talk about Shriver at potentially 141 until, well, right now. 141 is one spot I thought Iowa was going to attack in the transfer portal. But due to not a lot of Iowa level wrestlers entering at that weight, a certain someone staying home, which I love that decision to be honest, so don't take that the wrong way. And simply Iowa just not having the transfer portal success like they did last year. So what I'm saying is 141 is going to be interesting for the Hawks. Colin Shriver might be the guy for them, but ultimately what Iowa should do, and again, I'm not in Iowa's room every single day. I've only been in their wrestling room once and it wasn't to talk about weight class decisions. But what I think they should do, and I think some people would agree with me, is top tier recruit Ryder Block should drop down to 141. Heck, he might be a 141 size guy right now, but there's just a lot of college unknowns about him. Block didn't do much during his redshirt season due to injury recovery. He was a huge high school recruit and was even ranked #1 in his weight class a few times. Either way, he didn't get much time to develop in college, but I'm pumped to see him on the mat, and I really hope he's a 141 pounder and can help the old Hawkeyes out. And to be honest, the whole reason I'm saying Block should go 141, at least for one season, is because the previous mentioned Kyle Parko is leaving Arizona State and transferring into Iowa. And I don't think you need me to say this, but that move is so huge for Iowa, moving them into the projected #2 ranked team. Parko could also become a 5-time All-American, starting his career at Fresno State, and then gathering most of his honors at Arizona State, being a staple for them for a long time. I was honestly kind of sad to see him go, but I think he'll do very well for Iowa. And he'll more than likely be in the hunt for a top 3 spot at 149, especially based on his NCAA run last season. Now, who exactly does this move hurt? Well, there's a few guys in Caleb Ratchin, the starter for Iowa last year, and Victor Voinovich. Voinovich lost his spot to Ratchin last year, so he's a little lower on the depth chart. They both had up and down seasons last year with a lot of highs and a few lows, but I'm not really sure if they can score the points that Iowa would need, especially be competitive with Parko. And I'm not sure if Anthony Ferrari is coming back, but I thought I should mention him here just real quick at least. 157 is pretty funny when you look who Iowa's bringing in, because you can definitely tell they're trying to reload at the weight class, with 3 true freshmen coming in that are all very talented. One of which is Kale Voinovich, who is a top recruit and could potentially take the spot as the season goes on, especially as he develops more and more. However, as of now, it looks like the man, the myth, and the legend all combined in Kobe Seabrick could also be back to take his 157 spot after losing a year of eligibility due to the gambling cases. Seabrick had a pretty good season in 2023 before getting hurt and just not looking the same at NCAAs. I think Seabrick is an interesting wrestler, especially when he's healthy. He's basically fun to watch wrestle is what I'm saying. I'm glad to see he's coming back and he'll be able to go out on his own terms. But I also think a true freshman could maybe sneak into the spot here, especially throughout the season. However, they also might just let them develop a year under Seabrick and then slide them in during the 2026 season, but again, that's getting a little ahead of ourselves. Now to get back to some more easy to decode weight classes, well, sort of. We have Iowa's 165 All-American Michael Caliendo, who could dang well be in the national finals next year, with a lot of guys either leaving the field due to graduation, or a lot of heavy hitters bumping up to 174. I don't think Caliendo can win a national title, but a finalist is still a lot of points. And he keeps jumping levels every single year, and I'd honestly argue he looks better and better as the season goes on. And that even goes back to his North Dakota State days. Yeah, and then we jump to 174, and heck, let's have some fun here, because Iowa has some serious depth at this weight. My pick to start at 174 for Iowa, I think, is most people's pick as well, in Gabe Arnold, who had a lot of data on the big screen last year using his redshirt dates, except most of his matches were at 184. I really thought Iowa should have started him there, but I also see the reason they didn't. Either way, I think Arnold could be an All-American threat right away at 174, because he was college ready super early last season at a weight class up, and he only got better and better as the season went on, so I can only imagine his summer development. Behind him is Patrick Kennedy, who was another top tier recruit during Kennedy's time, but he always seems to be in a constant roster battle where he has yet to come out the other side on top. From an overall perspective, Kennedy's best season was at 165, even though last year at 174 he was a round away from becoming an All-American. And at the end of the day, he's a competitor, so he's just gonna have to find a way to fight at either 174 or 165. Or heck, apparently he's certified at 157, but I think that's a little out of reach for him. There's also the super talented recruit in AJ Ferrari coming into this fold, but Angelo can and honestly should redshirt, especially with all the options around him. He's only going to develop during that year so much more. Again, there was some great news from the Iowa camp that came out for Nelson Brands, who will have one last shot to get another All-American honor, this time though at 184, where he was a national qualifier before, but didn't do too well at NCAAs. Granted, that was a few years ago at this point, and for the lineup, it really works best for them. Do I think he can compete and win the 174 spot? Oh yeah, I honestly think he is the hands down best guy they have at 174, but he is also their best option at 184. I really wish Arnold and Nelson would start the season at 174, compete at the Luther Open, and then after that the loser goes up to 184 and just be done with it. It would really stink for the loser since their body would already be shrunk for the season, so maybe just let them talk it out, or maybe Nelson is just way bigger now, who really knows. Heck, maybe Nelson will get so big he'll go 197 and get that Rocky match back. Speaking of 197, like a lot of these Iowa weight classes, it can get pretty fun pretty quickly. In my opinion, I don't know if AJ Ferrari is going to be back next year. I've heard a lot of things that are swinging that direction, but it also cannot be true. To be honest, I really won't believe AJ Ferrari is back in college wrestling until I see him walk out onto a college mat and wrestle. And even on that stage, he better have an Iowa singlet on or I still won't believe it. However, if Ferrari is not back, they still have Zach Glazer, who had a great season last year, but a not so great NCAAs, going 1-2. Overall, if AJ is back to power and hopefully a little bit more calmed down, he is easily the best option for them, and he easily puts Iowa in the solidified number 2 best team. But in my opinion, it's Glazer for now at the 197 spot. Finally, we make our way to heavyweight in the Iowa lineup, which will more than likely be Bradley Hill to start the season until Ben Keeter is back in shape after football. I think Ben Keeter will be the hands down guy, and I'm honestly curious if he can get on the All-American stand. I think he looked pretty tough during the matches we did see him wrestle, but I'm curious how he will develop, especially with doing both football and wrestling. Like, he must just have an immunity to soreness or something. However, with all that said, I think Hill could put up a pretty good fight for the spot. He had some pretty nice wins last year, so we'll see how they decide this one, but I say Keeter will get the spot at the end of the day. And speaking of at the end of the day, I hope you all enjoyed this video because I know I also enjoyed diving into these Iowa Hawkeyes. I seriously can't wait to see how this lineup shakes up because I feel like this happens with Iowa every year where there's some serious shakeups that really drive storylines. Either way though, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe, along with leaving a comment on your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll tell you all this much, I really can't wait for the Iowa versus Oklahoma State match, especially if AJ Ferrari's there, and with all the buzz going on with David Taylor taking over Oklahoma State. But we definitely all have a ways away from that, so with all that said, I hope you all enjoyed once more, and take care, everybody.